welcome to Art Busters. I'm Whitney Mitchell, your show host, and I am thrilled about this episode for you today. This episode of Art Busters is exposure with the art form called opera. Now, if you're watching right now, you're thinking, opera? I have never seen opera before. I never heard of an opera before. Well, today is a beautiful gift for all of you. And if you love the opera, it's an extra gift because we're going to talk about the opera and an opera that is coming to the Vallejo area. So before we get into that, if you're not sure about the opera, I want to give you some facts about the opera. If you're watching right now and you've seen cartoons, well, let me tell you, opera is in cartoons, the beginning of time. And so the opera has been here for centuries, from culture to culture all around the world. It's a rich art form out there. And so with opera, it's very dramatic. And then there's a lot of comedy too. There's going to be a mix of the two in the opera. And there's just a lot that you can grasp when you see an opera. And so I want to let you know about an opera that is about to come here to the Vallejo area. It's called El Trovatore. Now, before we go into all of that, I want to let you know that this opera is with the opera company called Verismo Opera. Verismo Opera is the only opera company in Northern California that is within a community and is active within a community. The only opera. And so it is Verismo Opera, and we have the founder today. His name is Frederick Winthrop, and we'll bring him up in a minute. But I want to let you know that this opera is definitely an opera that you should see here in the Vallejo area. Now, it is called El Trovatore, and if you're thinking, what is El Trovatore? Well, I want to give you some highlights of what El Trovatore is. El Trovatore is by Giuseppe Verdi, which means Joe Green, and El Trovatore has powerful scenes. It's about the tales of flames at the stake, kidnapping, revenge, masterminded by Azucena, the convincing gypsy woman, a mysterious troubadour, and this woman named Lenora, she loses her heart to him. And in the midst of all that, we have two brothers that are separated at birth, and unknowing, they become enemies. So there's a lot of love, a lot of revenge, a lot of mix of a lot of emotions within this opera. And so what I'm going to do for you all today is I'm going to bring up the founder right now, and you're going to meet him. So come up here, Fred. All right.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on Art Busters, and I want everybody to know that I had Fred on an episode of Arts in Action before this episode. So it's great to see him on Art Busters, and this is Art Busters episode 4. So it's great to have you on the air, and I want the audience to know more about you and this awesome world that you're in when it comes to the opera. So tell the audience, what sparked your interest to become an opera singer?
Well, after trying almost every other medium in music, singing, opera was the one that I found a home in, which I really identified with, and so here I am today in opera.
Great. What operas have you worked with in the past?
Well, I'll give you some of the more famous ones. I've done almost all of them in the repertoire, but Carmen is one that I've done, La Boheme, Madame Butterfly, Faust. Then last season we did one called Un ballo in maschera, the mask ball, and now we're doing Il Trovatore, the troubadour, by Verdi.
Great. Now, what opera companies are you affiliated with now?
Well, currently I'm only affiliated with Verismo Opera. In the past, I have been with Hawaiian Opera Company, Laguna Opera Company, Opera Pacific, San Diego Opera, LA Opera.
Wow, that's a lot of.
And finally San Francisco Opera.
And how many operas have you done? Like,
I've done about 100, over 100 roles I've done.
Over 100, everyone. So, I mean, that's just amazing in itself, too. So what drove you to start your own opera company within the community of Vallejo, which is the East Bay of California?
Well, the love for what I do for this art form. Vallejo did not have an opera company, and as best of my knowledge, has never had one. And so through a mutual acquaintances, I was told about the Bay Terrace Theater over in Vallejo at 51 Daniels Avenue, and I went in and spoke with the president of the Mirror Theater Guild at that time.
Who was the president at that time?
That was Carlton.
Oh, Carlton.
Yes, Carlton. I can't think of his last name. Please forgive me, Carlton.
Carlton.
But anyway, he was very happy because he used to dance with the San Francisco Ballet Company.
Wow.
So he was very excited about us coming in. And now this is our 4th year in residency at the Bay Terrace Theater.
Oh, that's great.
What a joy.
Great. That is a joy. And if you all don't know where the Bay Terrace Theater, the Myra Theater Guild Bay Terrace Theater, that's at 51 Daniels Avenue. The cross street is Wilson, and it's not far from the Ferry Building. And so that's great that you met with him at that time.
Yes, I did.
David Cates, right?
David Cates,
awesome.
and it goes on.
Great.
So 4 years running now.
4 years running, and strong.
And strong, getting stronger all the time.
So, and it's great, everyone, that you're watching right now, because this is his opera company. You conduct as well, you sing, and for this opera, you're the stage director, and you're a character in this opera too.
Well, I assume that the lead role, the title role of Il Trovatore, the troubadour, and in the list of characters, my name is Manrico, and the story deals about 2 brothers who, at birth, were separated, and a gypsy kidnapped him, and for some reason she was so disheveled at the gypsy camp that she had a son as well, and because she wanted to have vengeance on the DeLunas, the enemy, she threw her own son in the fire and killed it, and then so she adopted him, and now she's raised him as a full-grown man, but she's using him as an instrument to have vengeance, because she's always saying "mi vendicar," which means I'll have my vengeance, and she's using Manrico to do this.
And what is so powerful about this opera is the storytelling too. We're not able to see the action that happened in the past, but with the storytelling, we're able to see it with the audience at that moment, like it occurred at that time, at that moment. And then we see the things that unfold in Act 2 and 3 because of what happened. And then we have children gypsies, and they hear that story, that creepy story of the death of the child, and they're terrified. So it's very, very dramatic.
and also we facilitate the audience because we sing the opera in Italian, and we have super titles in English to give you the story. So you can read the story as it unfolds and enjoy it, hopefully.
That is wonderful. Fred, wonderful. So, and our theme for today is, for Art Busters, it is exposure through the arts with the art form opera. So on that note, we're going to do a little shift change with this theme for you all today, with this exposure with characters in this opera. We're going to bring up one by one other characters, all right? So we're going to bring up the children that are gypsies in this opera. So we're going to bring them up one by one. Great. So we're going to bring up Isabel first, our first gypsy child. All right. Now she comes up. She's going to introduce herself, and I'm going to give her some questions.
Hi, my name's Isabel. I'm 7.5 years old.
7.5. So what made you audition for this opera?
Well, I just...
Tell the audience there.
I just like opera because it's dramatic and
Love it.
lots of combinations.
Oh, I love it. Yes, there is a lot of that. So what words come to mind when you think about opera?
Well, I think of musicals. I think of the olden days. I think of loud music.
That's great. That's great. And another question. Oh, good. Keep it right about there so we can all hear you. Is this your first opera experience? Being in an opera with professionals all around the world?
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh. And I love new beginnings when kids try opera for the first time. And it's a beautiful new beginning. And so who are you in this opera called El Trovatore? Who are you?
I'm a gypsy child.
You're a gypsy child. And look at her right now. This is the costume that she is wearing for the opera. This is the beautiful silhouette. And I'm kind of mimicking her a little bit with my green and my gypsy earrings. But I love it. You just look like a beautiful princess gypsy ready to shine on the stage. So that is beautiful. And you love to dance, act, and sing, right?
Yeah.
And that's the great part, because with the opera, she's getting all that with this opera experience with Verismo Opera. And she's part of the children's division for the opera. Thank you. Oh, let's hand the mic off to the next gypsy. We're going to bring up Zanea next. Now she comes up, she's going to introduce herself. And I have some other questions for her. All right, so here she is. All right, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Zanea and I'm 11 years old.
So what made you audition for this opera?
Because I was in the Umbalo and I liked it, that one. And I wanted to try another one and see if I liked it.
Oh, that's great. So she has some opera experience with the opera. So what words come to mind when you think about opera?
Dramatic and singing.
Oh, I like that. Okay, and she mentioned that she was in an opera called Umbalo, a mass ball. And that opera was last year of November 2012 and also the beginning of December 2012. And I'm so glad that she decided to audition for this opera, and she did, and she was cast. And she is a beautiful dancer and actress, and I'm so glad that she's decided to do this. And so with this production, I want to say, how would you like to embrace and grow with this art form? I'm sure you love this art form, and I'm sure you want to intertwine this with other things. Are you going to tell your friends about this?
Yes.
Good. You must tell your friends, and so she's going to tell her friends, and I'm so glad you're going to do that. Thank you. Let's bring up the next gypsy. All right, so the next gypsy that we have is Patrick. Patrick, come on up here. So as Patrick comes up, he's going to introduce himself, and then I have some questions for him. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Patrick Geort, and I'm 8 years old.
He's 8 years old. So Patrick, what made you want to audition for this opera?
Because it's like about stuff where I like.
Oh, good stuff that you like, and so it sparks your interest. So what words come to mind when you think about the word opera?
Drama and singing and being on stage.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So is this your first opera experience?
Of course.
Oh, great. And I love new beginnings. Oh, that's great. So who are you in this opera?
A gypsy child.
That's right. And look at him. This is his costume for the opera. I think you just look perfect. So with this, what other activities and art forms do you do aside from this opera experience?
I take ballet classes and do violin.
Oh, violin and ballet classes. That's great. So he's really immersed in the arts. What else?
And jazz and tap.
And jazz and tap. And guess what, everybody? I want to let you know that I think he might be a future playwright, because you're doing what? Is it cat Trovatore? What is it? What are you creating?
El Cavatore.
Oh, El Cavatore. With cats? Whoa! So we have to stay tuned for that, okay? Great. Okay, good job. All right, so we're going to bring up the next gypsy child. That's Sanaya. Come up here. Good. She's going to introduce herself. And then I have some questions for her. All right.
My name is Sanaya, and I am 11 years old.
All right, Sanaya, what made you audition for this opera?
I like being on stage, and
That's a great one. I love being on stage. That's true.
There's drama and sad stories, and I meet new people that call us Hoytons.
Ooh, yes, there is a. I love it. She said, oh, yeah. So in this opera, they're having a relationship with all these entire cast of professionals. And so they're learning a lot from them and, of course, the founder,